there's a production team that we do, like we have in Cape Town and Joburg, and then they record it, and I come through and interview the people via Zoom, and then I shoot my stuff back, and then we edit it. Like, it's a whole
process. Okay. With regards to weet jy nou weet ek nie eintlik eers waar ek wil vat en los nie, daar's so baie om oor te praat. So this is Talking Radio. Let's start with radio. And when I met you, you were working at Jacaranda FM, and I met you in Midrand, and I just remember being so flabbergasted and dumbfounded at how cool just that whole environment was. So now you've shifted and you're at your new home, which is OFM in Bloemfontein. How is it?
It's good. I think the journey of radio has been quite interesting for me. Obviously, a big part of that sat with working with Jacaranda, and it was a space that really afforded me a lot of growth opportunity to allow me to step into hosting a weeknight show at OFM. I'm currently back in Joburg, so I am one of the lucky ones who gets to broadcast from Joburg to Central South Africa. But I did spend the last year, 2021, in Bloemfontein, and I think it was extremely important that I'm actually in the building and that I got to engage with everyone from the producers to the music team to the commercial team, because you fully immerse yourself in the product that is OFM. And I think it really fast-tracked me getting to know the brand a bit better. I do think it was if I can say that, a very good brand fit for me to find a home like OFM. Net omdat daar soveel raakpunte is, if I did grow up in Central South Africa, OFM would absolutely be the station that I would and have listened to since like primary school.
Sure. You know, one of my good friends in this industry and just in life in general is Jaco de Waal, who's just started at OFM. He's also going to join me on this podcast. Now, you know, when he spoke to me about it, because we are radio geeks and we talk a lot of radio, and he spoke to me about just how next level Central Media does their things, because we come from community and I have a massive love for community radio, but everybody who does make that commercial shift talks about just how different the two are. It's almost like two complete separate industries. Did you ever make a turn in community? What is your radio history? Because as I say, when I met you, you were at Jacaranda. Is that where it started?
No, it started way before that. So I didn't do the community radio journey, but my radio bug bit me at campus radio. So I'm originally from Pretoria, so I went to Stellenbosch to study, and it was in my second year. They were handing out flyers. The campus radio station MFM was looking for presenters, and I applied, but it was this very intense 3-month training vetting program that you had to succeed and get through. Luckily, I went through it, and that's where it all started. Obviously, you start doing the overnight shows, then you go into weekend radio, and then a big part of my campus radio journey was hosting the early evening show, which is quite nice because it's the slot that I'm currently doing at OFM. Did that for 2 years, did a turn on a drive show for half a year, and then I spent about 4 years at campus radio. And as you know, the big goal is to break it into commercial. And it becomes extremely competitive because you're there with your friends. Daar is nie genoeg spasie vir almal om 'n werk te kry nie. So it's extremely competitive, and I'm working on it with my life coach. I tend to be quite competitive in like the worst way. So like it was very, very intense to me just because I really wanted to make that sort of break into commercial radio. And in 2015, I started to work at Smile 90.4 FM in Cape Town, did that for half a year, and then my contract didn't get renewed. And then I took a break from commercial radio for a year, and Cape Talk approached me, and then I spent a year and a half there before moving to Jacaranda. So it actually started in 2012, and I did a sum a few months ago. I think I'm in my 10th year of radio, if you do count the campus journey with it.
Of course you count the campus journey with it. You know, I started with campus and I was with Tux FM. And like you said, that vetting process, now MFM and Tux FM happen to be, and if there are other campus stations that have the same reputation, and I'm not mentioning them, I apologize, but those two, since I've been down here, a lot of the commercial presenters I've met come from MFM. And if you're up top in Gauteng, a lot of those commercial presenters come from Tux FM. So I think being in campus radio is a great, schooling ground for presenters. And making that, and like you said, everyone's your friend in the industry, because everyone in the industry tends to be so engaging and lovely, but there are only so many slots on radio and everybody wants one. It's a strange dynamic, I think. So when did television, because what came first then after radio, TV or the book? Or rather the documentary, not the book, because we said the book came later. So
yeah, I think what happened with me, I think just for context, I went to go study undergrad in drama. So after matric, I thought I was going to be this big 7-on actor. I found out very quickly in my first year that acting wasn't the way for me to go. Stellenbosch University had a course, a major in media that basically entailed television production and radio production. And obviously I took that and I did really well in that subject. And that's where and how I started getting interested in the medium of radio. But concurrently in that module, we were shooting short form soapies and editing it and script writing and doing all those things. So that's the background. I do believe while radio picked up a lot quicker for me, TV has always been on the vision board quite prominently. And I think I'm really grateful that I started my commercial and professional media career while the radio journey was happening. So two things happened as I now talk to you through the campus radio journey. In 2015, when I got my first commercial radio gig, I started as an intern, multimedia content producer for Media 24. So the radio journey ran quite parallel to, I would imagine, the TV/digital journey into TV while that happened. So it was always both at the same time. So in 2015, I was a content creator, creating video content for Net 24, specialized in lifestyle and in entertainment. And then got a job in the corporate office at Media 24 where I got to project manage, but project manage with a lot of freedom, which sort of led into content creation. And then in 2016, Media 24 decided to launch an Afrikaans TV channel, a lifestyle channel, Via. And I just really wanted a show on the channel in the first year. So they auditioned a few of the young people who had big bright stars in their eyes. I didn't get a show, but I did get the opportunity in 2017 to start hosting and producing an insert entertainment show for the channel. So that was like a weekly 5-minute show that I would produce and present. And I would imagine that would be the start of the TV journey that led into a lot more field presenting jobs, freelance gigs, to where I am now, sort of being a bit more fully invested in the realm of television production, with me being the host or the presenter of a show or a documentary or a film.
I think it can get very hard when you do so many different things and you're doing it all yourself, or rather when you've got that background, you've done a little bit of each part of it yourself. So like you said, and then coming in and being the product, but also making the product. And I think it can be a lot, but radio also, campus and community radio, I think tying in with that, teachers want to be a bit of a jack of all trades. And so if you can make it in that environment, it does help you to go onwards. See, I didn't know any of this, that you worked in these different places. And it shows you, because that's a massive part. It's a massive theme of this podcast, is how hard it can be and how much it does take to get into this field and into television is, I think, it's definitely harder, so I think being very resilient in that regard is super important. And I think you've shown why that works. Your documentary and then subsequently the book Schwarp. Now, when it came out, I did a double take when I saw it, because I was like, that is so offensive. And then I realized it's not offensive because you wrote it in your pub. So please tell me about the Schwarp journey. And I know that you've done a lot of press runs on it. So you probably told the story 100 times, but I'd like you to tell it to me again. And please tell me, where did this concept for Schwarp come from? And I know that it's probably a very personal thing for you as well. How did it come to be?
So this was in 2018. just moved back to Johannesburg. I started working at Jacaranda FM, hosting 2 weekend shows. And me being back in Joburg, I just felt like I needed to do something. So I would imagine the first intention was needing to create something where I can be seen or my skills can be showcased. But that being said, quite secondary to that, and the secondary part became the primary part as the project grew, was this journey that I had to undertake with the issue that I had with sexuality and society's issue with it, and also my very internalized homophobic thoughts around being gay and Afrikaans and brown and what that looked like in the industry of entertainment. So I was in I don't know what happened. I just had this idea at the end of 2018 to create a show spotlighting LGBTI Afrikaans people and their issues. I pitched it to a channel who said it's not really something we would put on a channel.
And not family friendly.
Yeah, which I find very weird because it is actually just a piece of work like profiling people. Then I was like, okay, cool. If they're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. I have some extra money. Let's put something together. And I decided to flesh out an idea. And I didn't know it was going to be a documentary. I worked on it for about 3 months of pre-production research, shortlisting people who I would want to speak to. And when January hit in 2019, I felt comfortable enough to like back myself and put my money where my mouth is. And I sent out emails to people who I wanted to interview. I got a videographer on board. It was a 2-man production. We shot for 2 weeks, 1 week in Cape Town and 1 week in Johannesburg. And then the next 4 months, I was sitting after my day job, after my weekend shows, editing something that I didn't know what it's going to be. And as it sort of pieced together, or I pieced it together, it became a documentary that I submitted to the Silverskärm Fest that year, and they approved it. It screened, it went to Palm Springs, and then everything just happened and it blew up. And I think the reason for it being so successful, the film now, is because it was relatively unique or new in that Afrikaans entertainment space. I'm extremely grateful for, I believe we really got really good people to feature in the documentary with really remarkable stories. And I'm very proud of the project, mainly because it was a self-funded documentary that people didn't really want to produce or give funding to. And it blew up essentially, which was very great because a year after that, Showmax licensed the documentary. We just got renewed a few months ago. So I'm happy that I backed myself in that journey. And I think it really highlighted important conversations around the topic matter, but on a more personal and professional level for me, it definitely positioned myself to where I am today, where I would believe that streamers or production companies or channels or publishing houses would see me being able to lead a project on that level.
Sure, because it is, it's immense doing such a project, but I think doing a project so personal, even more so, that's remarkable. I don't really even know how to respond to that. It really is very remarkable. And I'm pretty sure that by doing so, you've most likely created a voice for a lot of people who otherwise felt they had none. Now, going on forward, and I think you are far from finished from what it sounds like as well. These projects are not like, this is not your, how can I say, this is not the summary of Renaldo. It's just a summary of Renaldo at this moment. What's going to look forward? I mean, commercial radio, I think you'll never leave commercial radio, will you, Renaldo?
As long as they'll have me, as long as they renew my contracts, I'm here to stay. But it's been, I think it's the last 2 years have been extremely important for me. As I said, I think everything that we just spoke about, taking into account the radio journey, the digital and corporate journey, and then of course the production journey with television work, really puts me in a very I'm very excited about what's going to come. I do annual plans and vision boards and stuff. But it's also interesting to note that sometimes gets thrown out completely and something else really intrigues me and it grows. But it is extremely important that I focus on building my broadcasting career on radio and on television. But I think for me, not so much that it's just important that I see my face on television. It's important for me to have equity in the work that I create. So I'm very selective about like projects because I would want it to be, not that everything has to be representative, but I would need to be more than just a talking head on a TV show. Like I would need to be involved with research or scripting or producing, just because I get very bored quite quickly.
Sure.
And I would love to be stimulated. So that's the sort of looking forward, the journey that I would like to focus on. And I am positive and quite excited as to what's coming. So the radio must be continued. I would hope it does. I'm really enjoying that. And I would love to create more television. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you could give a spot, and I think we've been lucky with the couple of episodes we've done so far. I think great material there for any person hoping to enter this industry in campus radio, in community radio. You know, what's going to be their recipe for success wanting to enter this industry going forward?
Ooh, sort of the cliche, but it's a cliche, but it's so valid. And I think it's something we as people working in industry for many years tend to forget, is just always remembering to upskill and diversify the skill set. I think I think people have this perception that working in radio or in broadcasting is this very glamorous thing, which it tends to be. And I think that's a sort of hook for most of us, or it was absolutely for me. But at the core of it, there's a shitload of work that needs to happen. And like, it's a lot of work. And I think people tend to just think, oh, we living our best lives. Oh, he's doing a TV show. Oh, he's on radio. Like there's a lot of hours that's not seen, that we don't post, that people don't consume. And I think that's where longevity and success actually sits. So people must be aware of that. I do understand that it is quite fun and glamorous to do all of the things, and it does have that side to it. But there's a lot of work that needs to happen. But I think people need to realize we've shifted. I think they do realize, but I don't see the shift tangibly. I think that we've shifted to a very content-driven entertainment space where content and good content and well-packaged content in whatever form or whatever medium does absolutely always win. And it might take a few. I'm saying create the content, build the table, people will come. As we mentioned, there are only a few slots, so nie almal kan werk kry nie. But if you do the work, in a few years or a few months, if you're lucky, someone will see that and it will absolutely get you to where you need to be. So do the work, diversify your skill set, and consume the medium that you would want to work in. I think a lot of us don't listen to radio and don't watch television,
100%.
especially local radio and television, because you're going to pick up things that work and you're going to pick up things that don't work. But I think it's important that as people working in this industry, that we know what's happening on this medium and within this industry.
I think it's also important that the industry, like people need to talk to one another. You know, I went to that Marula Media Radio Conference. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they do this community radio conference, and so valuable. Second time I've referenced it now, because so valuable, and it like not enough of it happens where people sort of just talk and share knowledge and share their obstacles and solutions to those obstacles within their industry, and that can be super valuable as well, which is fantastic. Renaldo, thank you. I'm not going to keep you much longer. It's so exciting to see all the different things you're doing.
Good to talk about these things, and I'm so excited and happy that you're actually doing this podcast and these conversations have been highlighted.
Hey man, it's been good fun, and we've spoken to people who are so smart within this industry, so clever, and you can learn from each person and everything they say. So it's been a lot of fun.